Hi, and welcome to my channel. Or if you're a returning subscriber, hi again. It's so nice to see you back here for another video. My name's Tess Lark, and today I'm going to show you how you can create a really stunning 3D resin bloom using epoxy resin and alcohol ink. As always, I'll have all of the materials that I use for this project linked in the description below. So if anybody's curious about the resin I'm using, the pigments that I'm using, or my mold, or anything else that I use for this project, all of that information will be down there for you. So let's go ahead and hop into today's project. It's a bit of a tongue twister, but I say it every time. To save some time in this video, I went ahead and I pre-mixed 100 milliliters of resin. So I used 50 milliliters of resin along with 50 milliliters of hardener. I went ahead and mixed that up, and now I'm just going to pour off about 20 to 30 milliliters into another cup. And to that cup, I'm going to add some white alcohol ink. And the alcohol ink I'm using today is by Pinata Colors. It's their Blanco Blanco. So I'm just going to go ahead and add a few drops of my alcohol ink to my resin and begin to mix it up using a popsicle stick. And when you're mixing resin, you want to make sure that you're scraping both the sides and the bottom of your container as you go, making sure that this pigment is really thoroughly incorporated all throughout the resin. And a good way to see if your resin is pigmented enough is to see how it looks on the end of your popsicle stick. So I think I've got enough pigment in this resin, and we will go ahead and move on. For this project, I'll be using a sandwich baggie as a piping bag. So I'm just taking an empty sandwich bag and placing that inside of another empty cup. And then I'm going to pour my pigmented white resin right into that bag. After I've got all of that resin into there, I'll go ahead and close this bag and set it off to the side to use it a little bit later. And just a friendly reminder that if you are enjoying this video so far, please don't forget to give it a like. It not only helps out my channel a whole lot, but also lets me know that I'm making content that you guys want to see from me. So I'm going to gather up all of this resin to one corner of my bag, and then I'll begin to twist it up until it forms a little point. But I'm not going to cut it open yet because it does get a little bit messy, so I'm going to cut it open right before I use it. For now, I'll just set it off to the side. My next step will be to pour the remainder of my clear resin into one of my coaster molds. I'm just kind of playing around with color and seeing what this bloom would look like. So for this project, I'm just using one of my molds. After I've filled my mold with the remainder of my clear resin, I'm going to go ahead and begin to add some colors. And I'm using more alcohol ink by Pinata Colors. This is the Sun Bright Yellow, and I'm just placing some of that in the center of my mold. So as you can see here, Sun Bright Yellow, and then I'm also going to use the Pinata Colors Baja Blue. So to the outside of that yellow, I'm just going around and placing some blue dots. You don't need to place them too close together because the alcohol ink does spread out quite a bit, but I'm just going around that outside edge and adding some blue. My next step is to carefully cut the tip of my piping bag open, and I want it to be a big enough hole that enough resin comes out, but small enough that I have a pretty good amount of control over it. And then I'm going to start piping some concentric circles, starting with the center of my mold and working my way outwards. You can see here I'm just using my gloved fingers to kind of get any little drips that might be going, and I'm trying to take it up pretty close to that outer edge, right up to the edge of the mold. Now that I've piped my white resin in concentric circles throughout my mold, I'm going to take a clean popsicle stick and begin to draw those lines into the center of the mold in a bit of a petal formation. And you can see here that I'm just swirling the ink around in the center when I get to that point, and kind of breaking up some of those bigger petals. I also wanted to experiment with dragging some of them outwards as well. I'd also like to point out that I'm using enough pressure that I can see the ink moving, but not so much that I can feel the bottom of the mold, if that makes sense. But once I'm happy with the pattern, I'm gonna go ahead and hit that with my heat gun to pop any bubbles, and then I'll cover this up and let it cure completely. Alright, so I went ahead and I let this one set up overnight. It's totally cured, nice and solid. So let's go ahead and pull it out of the mold and see how it turned out. I'm not gonna lie, I'm a little bit nervous. This side looks crazy. So let's pull it out and see how it turned out. Oh, okay. Look at that. Oh, I actually really love this one. So we got all sorts of texture and feathering in here. The blue pigment did break up a little bit, so we got these like little splotches of pigment, but they're actually really pretty. And I will definitely make sure to take some footage of this in the natural light so you guys can see it a little bit better. But overall, I'm really happy with this piece. This side, not so much, but this side, it's pretty nice. Thank you so much for spending part of your day with me, especially if you made it all the way to the end of this video. And if you did make it all the way to the end of the video, leave me some sort of blue emoji just so that I know that it's real. And if you'd like to see more resin art tutorials from me, I do have an entire playlist right here on YouTube, so make sure you check that out when you're done with this video. I really hope that this tutorial inspires you to make something of your own today, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye!